Give it up for Bubba.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate it.
Congratulations to you, man.
He wasn't supposed to be here. Not in this sport. Not in this world. And definitely not in the spotlight that would one day set an entire country on fire. Bubba Wallace grew up as an outsider in a world with no room for people who looked like him. NASCAR, for decades, had been a fortress dominated by tradition, guarded by a culture many believed would never change. And yet, somehow, a young boy from Alabama found himself fighting for a seat, for respect, and eventually, for something far bigger than racing. This is the story of a driver who never asked to become a symbol, yet became one anyway. The story of a man who went from the shadows of doubt to the center of a national reckoning. The story of a rising superstar dragged into controversy, hatred, and chaos only to find a way to rise through it all. So how did a kid who wasn't even expected to step foot on a NASCAR track end up becoming one of the most influential figures in modern American sports? This is the untold journey of Bubba Wallace, the victories, the heartbreak, the backlash, the rebirth, and the legacy still being written. Bubba Wallace was born Darrell Wallace Jr. in 1993 in Mobile, Alabama, place where the echoes of racial tension had never fully faded. His upbringing was a blend of two worlds, a black mother, a white father, and a childhood that straddled two cultures not always eager to mix his mother. Desiree saw the world as a battlefield and taught him how to survive it. His father, Darrell Sr., introduced him to racing, a world with speed, danger, and a culture largely untouched by young black athletes. That contrast defined Bubba's early life: support at home, resistance outside it. From the moment he stepped into go-karts at age 9, he felt the stares. Not the normal competitive tensions, something colder, sharper, whispers, doubts, the unspoken question, what is he doing here? But Bubba didn't care. He wasn't racing to make a statement, he was racing because he was fast, shockingly fast. And as he started winning, the comments shifted from disbelief to irritation to fear. He wasn't supposed to belong, but he was too good to ignore. And that was only the beginning of the fight. Bubba's early career was built on grit, borrowed money, and pure determination. Unlike many rising racers backed by wealthy families or long racing legacies, Bubba climbed the ladder through raw talent and relentless work. He rose through go-karts, legends cars, and late models, turning heads every time he put on a helmet. His breakthrough came when he caught the attention of Toyota's driver development program, earning a coveted spot that many young drivers could only dream of. For once, the door was open. But stepping inside was another battle. In the NASCAR Truck Series, Bubba proved he wasn't just good, he was historic. He became the first African-American driver since Wendell Scott to win a NASCAR National Series race. The significance wasn't lost on anyone. Suddenly, fans, media, and even competitors began asking the same question. Could Bubba Wallace become the first black superstar in NASCAR history? But every step forward felt like a tug of war. Sponsorships were scarce. Opportunities slipped away. Some teams didn't want the attention or the controversy that came with him. Bubba wasn't just racing cars. He was racing perceptions, and the world was watching. Everything changed when Bubba received the call that would define his early career, an invitation to join Richard Petty, Motorsports and Drive, the legendary No. 43 car. This wasn't just another ride. This was the most iconic number in NASCAR history. Worn by the King Richard Petty himself. On the outside, it looked like destiny. On the inside, it felt like pressure tightening around his chest. His debut at the Daytona 500 became an instant phenomenon. In a race where rookies usually fade into the background, Bubba fought until the final lap, finishing second in one of the most dramatic Daytona finishes ever. Cameras captured him in tears, embracing his mother as the racing world erupted. Overnight, Bubba Wallace was no longer just a promising newcomer. He was a star. The momentum continued. His personality, emotional, fiery, won over a new generation of fans. Brands noticed. Media noticed. NASCAR, desperate for younger audiences, noticed. Bubba wasn't just winning races. He was changing the face of a sport struggling to evolve. But with success came pressure. Every performance was magnified. Every word analyzed. Every mistake weaponized. NASCAR fans were passionate, sometimes to passionate tanned Bubba as a black driver in a mostly white sport. Drew criticism and scrutiny at levels few athletes ever experience. Still, he pushed forward, fighting for results, fighting for acceptance, fighting for a place no one had prepared him for. But the real storm was yet to come. 2020 was the year everything exploded, in the midst of nationwide tension after the murder of George Floyd. Bubba Wallace made a bold stand. He publicly called for NASCAR to ban the Confederate flag, a symbol long linked to racism throughout the American South. The reaction was immediate and violent. Some hailed him as a hero. Others labeled him a traitor. Social media turned into a battlefield. Hate messages flooded in. Influencers and media personalities attacked him daily. But Bubba didn't back down. NASCAR listened on, the flag was banned. Then came the moment that set the entire country on fire. Before a race at Talladega, a garage member discovered what looked like a noose hanging in Bubba's garage. NASCAR launched a full investigation. Every major news outlet covered it. Celebrities, politicians, athletes, everyone weighed in. The paddock united symbolically behind Bubba, walking with his car to the starting line in a moment that brought millions to tears. But then the backlash hit. When the FBI concluded it had been a garage pull rope that had been there before his team arrived. Critics accused Bubba of manufacturing the incident, despite him never being the one who reported it. The narrative spun out of control. Online mobs ridiculed him. Some fans turned their backs on him. Rivals took subtle jabs. He became the epicenter of one of the most polarizing moments in modern sports. Bubba Wallace wasn't just fighting for results anymore. It was fighting for his reputation, his sanity, and his place in the sport he loved. For a while, the weight was overwhelming. He admitted struggling mentally, considering stepping away from racing entirely. The same spotlight that lifted him up was now burning him alive. Just when it looked like Bubba might walk away from everything, a new opportunity appeared, one that would reshape his future. Michael Jordan, the basketball legend himself, joined forces with Denny Hamlin to create a brand new team, 2-3 She Racing, and their first ever driver. Bubba Wallace, it wasn't just a new chapter, it was a rescue. Jordan believed in him. Hamlin believed in him. And for the first time in years, Bubba felt like he could breathe. With better equipment, better funding, and a culture built around support instead of criticism, Bubba began to rebuild not just his career, but himself. And then came the moment of vindication, his emotionally charged victory at Talladega in 2021, becoming the first black driver to win a Cup Series race in nearly 60 years. But this time, the victory wasn't just symbolic, it was earned through sheer skill and execution. Bubba Wallace was no longer just a headline. He was a force, and just like that, the phoenix rose. Bubba Wallace's legacy isn't defined by trophies, though he has earned his place among NASCAR's elite. His impact lies in something far more powerful, forcing a sport with deep-rooted traditions to look itself in the mirror. He became the catalyst for change, the voice for silent fans, the symbol of progress in a sport that desperately needed evolution. Bubba didn't choose the responsibility, but he carried it anyway. His journey proves that greatness isn't just measured by speed. It's measured by courage, by resilience, by the willingness to stand alone in the storm and through every victory, every controversy, every hateful message. Every moment of overwhelming pressure, he never stopped driving forward. The journey of Bubba Wallace is proof that history isn't written by those who stay silent, but by those who dare to speak, drive, and rise. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video, share it with others, and subscribe for more powerful documentaries on stars and scandals.